You're standing in the back of a C-130, the ramp is down, and the world outside is a void of black and gray. You're not thinking about the mission yet. You're thinking about the strap on your left rucksack that's digging into your collarbone, and the metallic taste of the Rip-It you chugged an hour ago. People think this life is a movie. They think it's all slow-motion walks and dramatic music. It isn't. It's the smell of diesel, the weight of 70 pounds of gear, and the absolute crushing silence of 12 men who have already said everything they need to say. Welcome to the tip of the spear. It starts long before the plane. It starts in the Pine Barrens of North Carolina at a place called Camp Mackall. You arrive there as a candidate, which is just a polite way of saying you're a nobody. You've got a ruck, a couple of canteens, and a map that looks like it was drawn in the 80s. The instructors don't scream at you like drill sergeants. They don't have to. They just watch. They carry clipboards, and they stand there in the tree line, silent as ghosts, marking down every time you hesitate, every time you adjust your boots, every time your eyes look for an exit. They call it assessment and selection. You call it the star exam because you spend most of your nights looking at the sky, wondering why you did this to yourself. You're out there for 24 days. By day 10, your feet aren't yours anymore. They're just blocks of meat wrapped in wet socks. You're carrying a log with 5 other guys, except 2 of them are quitters who haven't realized it yet. You can see it in their eyes. They're looking at the ground, not the horizon. When they drop that log, you're the one who has to pick up the slack. That's the test. It's not about how many push-ups you can do. It's about whether you're a blue falcon, buddy expletive, who lets the team fail so you can survive, or if you're the guy who digs deep when there's nothing left. Then comes the Q course. The qualification course is where the military stops breaking you and starts building a monster. You spend months in a classroom learning a language that sounds like gravel in a blender. You learn how to take a radio apart and put it back together in the dark. You learn how to stitch a man's chest back together while an instructor is dumping a bucket of ice water over your head to simulate a stressful environment. They want to see if your hands shake. If they shake, you're out. There is no middle ground in special forces. You are either the solution or you are a liability. The final exam is a place called Pineland. It's a fictional country, but the mud is real and the local guerrillas are role players who treat you like garbage. This is Robin Sage. You aren't playing soldier, you're playing diplomat, teacher, and killer all at once. You have to convince a local warlord, who's actually a retired Green Beret having the time of his life acting like a jerk, to join your cause. If you lose your temper, you fail. If you can't build a rapport, you fail. Special Forces isn't just about kicking in doors. It's about by, with, and through. You are the quiet professional. You're the guy who enters a country with nothing but a backpack and leaves with a trained army. Once you earn that tab and that Green Beret, you think the hard part is over. You're wrong. Now you're on an ODA, an Operational Detachment Alpha. 12 men. That's your family now. You know exactly how the guy to your left takes his coffee, and you know exactly how many seconds it takes for the guy to your right to clear a jam on his MK-17. You live in a team room that smells like gun oil and old gym clothes. Your life is a cycle of train, deploy, reset. You find yourself in a village in the Hindu Kush, or a jungle in the Philippines. You aren't wearing a clean uniform. You've got a beard, you're wearing local clothes, and you're eating goat stew that's probably going to give you a parasite by Tuesday. But you're sitting there, drinking tea with a village elder, listening to him talk about the bad men in the next valley. This is the FID mission, Foreign Internal Defense. You're not the one pulling the trigger. You're the one making sure the locals know how to do it. You're teaching them how to set an ambush, how to read a map, how to defend their homes. You're an asymmetric asset. You're the ghost in the machine that turns a disorganized group of farmers into a lethal fighting force. But then the sun goes down, and the tea drinking stops. The direct action side of the house comes out. You get the intelligence that the HVT, high-value target, is in a compound 3 miles away. You don't do a big, loud convoy. You move on foot through the shadows. Every step is deliberate. You're using white light only when necessary, relying on your nods, night observation devices. The world turns green and grainy. Your breathing is the only thing you hear inside your ear pro. You reach the breach point. No one speaks. A hand on a shoulder is a signal. The breacher places the charge. Thump. The door isn't a door anymore. It's a hole. You're inside before the dust even hits the floor. It's high speed, low drag. You're moving through the house like a flood. Room clear. Status check. Secure. It's over in 90 seconds. You've got the target. You've got the SSE, sensitive site exploitation, and you're out. You don't wait for the local police to show up. You unass the area before the neighborhood even wakes up. Back at the fire base, you don't celebrate. You clean your gear. You check your mags. You debrief. You look at the photos of the kids you saw in that village, and you wonder if what you did tonight actually made their world safer, or if you just kicked a hornet's nest. That's the weight of the beret. It's not the prestige, it's the moral math you have to do every single night. You are the one who has to make the choices that nobody else wants to make. The operator life wears you down. Your knees are shot from the jumps. Your back is a mess from the ruck marches. Your second marriage is usually the one that sticks because the first one couldn't handle the 9-month deployments where you couldn't even say what country you were in. You become a ghost to your own family. You show up at your kid's soccer game and you're scanning the parking lot for exits and anomalies while the other parents are complaining about the price of gas. You can't turn it off. You are always Oscar Mike, on the move. The high-intensity stuff gets the headlines, but the special reconnaissance missions are the ones that stay with you. Sitting in a hide site for 72 hours, literal inches away from an enemy patrol. You're covered in dirt, eating cold MREs, and watching. Just watching. You have to be so still that the birds land on your head. One sneeze, one shifted rock, and you're compromised. You aren't there to fight, you're there to be the eyes of the command. You're a sensor. You're collecting the data that will decide the next 3 months of the war. It's the ultimate test of discipline. Anyone can pull a trigger when they're angry. Very few people can sit in a hole for 3 days while a beetle crawls into their ear and not move a muscle. By the time you hit level 5, the senior NCO or the warrant officer, you're the one running the show. You're the one telling the young guys to slow down. You've seen the snafu situations where everything goes foobar. You know that the plan never survives first contact, and you know that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. You're the quiet professional now. You don't need the flashy gear or the tactical beard to prove you're elite. You've got the thousands of hours in the dirt. You've stood in the rain at the funeral of a guy who was selected with you. You've handed a folded flag to a widow who didn't even know what her husband's real job was. You've felt the emptiness of a team room after a bad deployment. That's the part they don't put in the recruitment videos. They don't tell you about the moral injury or the TBI from the breaching charges. They just show the cool stuff. But you wouldn't trade it. You couldn't. You're part of a lineage that goes back to the OSS and the Raiders. You're the connective tissue of the national defense strategy. When you finally hang it up, you don't really leave. You still walk into a room and check the corners. You still ruck on the weekends because your body feels weird without a pack. You see a news report about a unnamed government official or a specialized training team in some corner of the world, and you smile. You know exactly who is on that ground. You know what they're eating, what they're thinking, and the exact weight of the gear on their backs. You were the one who went into the quiet rooms. You were the one who spoke the languages of the forgotten. You were the multiplier. You didn't just fight a war, you mastered the human domain. You are a special forces operator. You are the Green Beret. And while the world sleeps in its peaceful beds, you're the reason those beds stay safe. You didn't do it for the medals. You did it for the 11 other guys on your ODA. You did it because someone had to be the ghost in the dark, the Oppresso Liber, to free the oppressed. It's not a slogan, it's the blood in your veins. It's the reason you kept talking when your feet were bleeding. It's the reason you stayed quiet when you wanted to scream. It's the reason you are who you are. The mission is never over. The terrain just changes. Keep your head on a swivel, stay dangerous, and never, ever forget why you started this journey in that windowless room all those years ago. The world is a big, dark place, and it needs people who aren't afraid of the shadows. That's you. That was always you.